There's they say the Rebbe, Rabbi Rebbe, before he became Rebbe, so that's around then was when the Nefesh Hachaim came out in print again from after Europe, and he got a hold of a copy. The first time he saw the Nefesh Hachaim, and he read through the Nefesh Hachaim, and he was like so excited about it, Rabbi Rebbe, that he was like reading it everywhere and quoting it everywhere and everywhere. And there was a little bit of competition there between him and his brother-in-law, who's going to be the Rebbe. So his brother-in-law, the Gerari, the Rashad, so he said, like, if you like the Nefesh Hachaim so much, why don't you just get rid of the Tanya and learn Nefesh Hachaim? Let's make that the new savior. Probably the difference is in a very, very delicate nakuda of Tzimtzum, meaning exactly what it means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in this world. So right now we're learning how, what we're learning now, and that's the good segue, what we're learning now is the connection between the Adam and the Mishkan, let's say, or the Beis HaMikdash, and the Olam HaSoyana. So what the Nefesh Hachaim said, let's just refresh our memories, what the Nefesh Hachaim said was that the Kesher, that there's like a circle here. And it's not just a circle that's connecting, but there's like three places, if you will, on the circle which are identical. So the Olam HaSoyana, so who knows what's up in the Olam HaSoyana? Nobody knows what's going on in the Shemayim. Nobody's seen it. We're privy to a little bit of information. But the Beis HaMikdash was an exact parallel, this is what Nefesh Hachaim said, to that which is going on in the Shemayim. So if you somehow or another you look at the Mishkan, which is a simpler version, if you will, the Mishkan, which is a version of the Shemayim, like a schematic, a diagram of what's the Shemayim. So what we're privy to is the Beis HaMikdash. But it's not just a picture. It means to say that the avoda that we do in the Beis HaMikdash is the avoda which is being done, which we can do, and how we're affecting what's going on in the Shemayim. And then a bigger chiddush is that the Adam himself, which is another part of you want to look at a circle, there's a triangle, but the Adam himself, think of it like this. The Adam himself is also a parallel to the Beis HaMikdash. It means the avodah that we do, like sort of physically, and that's what we're going to learn hopefully today in the Gra, that there's an actual physical replica of the Beis HaMikdash in the Adam, which is all one big replica of what's happening in the Shemayim. So one level is we're going from Madrega to Madrega. One level is that it's all connected. It's all connected with a chibur here and a chibur there, and all goes up to the top. It's kedai to know that the Zohar says in its Hebrew that the word ketiras, which means you're bringing a incense. The word ketira also means to tie, kesher. Nasik ketira or shenu. Ketira is like when they take, like the Greeks have these wreaths that they put around their head. That was called a ketira because you tie a bunch of leaves together. So it's all one thing is tying into the other. There's the kesher. So there's the kesher of the triangle that goes like this. But then beyond that's one level. But it's all tied up. We're tied up. What we think is what is affecting what's in the Shemayim. What we do in the Beis HaMikdash is affecting in the Shemayim, and the Adam is parallel with the Beis HaMikdash. But then, how parallel is it? And that's where we start getting excited. We were learning on Thursday the whole Indian of Shemona Esrei connected the Yud Ches Chulios, which we'll get back to. But even the Shemona Esrei, the Gaon says, is connected to the Avodah of the Beis HaMikdash. Today we don't have Avodah of the Beis HaMikdash down in Shemona Esrei. But and the Shemona Esrei is where the Gemara learns it out from Havul Hashem b'nei Elim, Havul Hashem kavod v'yois. David HaMelech was talking about the Beis HaMikdash. So we talk about the Beis HaMikdash, so that's where we learned Shemona Esrei from. So we have even a more exact replica going on. And now we're going to find out that the avoda that you do we're literally doing the Avodas Beis HaMikdash within us. And probably a bigger chiddush is that when you go to the Beis HaMikdash or the Mishkan and you do Avodah, you're mamish doing the Avodas Adam. And in very great detail, and it's all affecting what's going on in the Shemayim. So when Hashem said he wanted to make a dira b'tachtonim, so it was very literal. It's not just like, oh, I want a place in tachtonim. I want it to be a mirror image of what's going on in Shemayim. I want it to be in Aretz. Now, again, to answer your question, the difference probably is going to be, and I don't want to oversimplify it, that when Hashem says, I'm making a dira b'tachtonim, does that mean that he's actually here b'tachtonim, walking amongst us? It's kind of philosophically untenable that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is walking around. Although I read, if you were at the Pirkei Avos yesterday, that the Chazal say, I just threw it in there, Chazal say that b'Yemois HaMashiach, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be, on this week's parsha, I'm going to walk with you, that's the lashon of Chazal. You're just like me. Like nothing to be afraid of. You and I, we're just the same thing. So what does that mean? I don't even know what it means. Maybe we'll know someday what that means.
By the same token, are we having a tikkun of our nefesh when we do the avodah, when we daven?
Yeah, not the same token. That's what we're learning. That what we're doing with tefillah is the avodah of the Beis HaMikdash, but it's not just connected, it's exact.
But it's helping us too. I mean, it's doing a tikkun.
Yeah, and it's changing the Shemayim, which is changing the whole world. So that's the triangle that we need to understand. So I want to just, before we go, just so...
Galus really wrecks that.
So
Galus really wrecks that.
What wrecks it?
Galus.
With the Blamashim and... Yeah, that's exactly what... No, because there's also, we learned in the Gemara that there's also one extra piece, an extra chulia, which is the 19th chulia, which is connected the Berachos Haminim, which we need to get back to. I just want to talk about the Beis HaMikdash for a second. Let's talk about the Mishkan again, it's easier. The Beis HaMikdash is the same thing, but fancier. A glorified version of the Mishkan. But does everyone have the layout of the Mishkan clearly? So let me just show you a picture. There you go, Eliezer. So just to review what's clear, here's the Mishkan. The Mishkan had basically three parts to the Mishkan. That's important for us. Basically, there's many parts. There's Nashim, there's a lot of different things. The Sanhedrin, the Lishkas Hagas, there's Lishkais, how you can buck the Mikdash. That's what the Bar says. But the Mishkan itself was like basic because it was portable. So it had to move from place to place. But the basic three components of the Mishkan are, starting from the inside, you had the Kodesh HaKadoshim. You had, outside of that, you had the Oil Moed. In other words, in the Oil Moed, you had the Kodesh Kadoshim, but you had the general Oil Moed. And outside of that, you had the Chatzer HaMishkan. So you had three parts to the Mishkan. The Chatzer HaMishkan, the Oil Moed, and then the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
It's called the Kodesh also, the Oil Moed is called the Kodesh?
The Oil Moed is called the Kodesh, and this is Kodesh HaKadoshim. This is Kodesh HaKadoshim. Here's the Kodesh of the Kodesh. Kodesh of the Kodesh. And this was also Kodesh. You couldn't go in there if you had certain tumas, but it was pretty much for the Hamonam. What was in each side? What was in each one of these? And let's just become Bucky in this a little bit. In the Kodesh HaKadoshim, well, let's start from here. In the Chatzer HaMishkan, you had basically two things, which are really three things. You had the Mizbeach HaNechoshes, often called in the Gemara the Mizbeach HaYisod. Important. I'm talking about now, it wasn't made out of Evan, it was made because it was portable. but it was the Mizbeach HaNechoshes, that was on the outside. You also had the Kior, which was the sink where you purified yourself. Why do I say it's two, which is really three? Because the Kior had two parts, the Kior of a Chanoi. So what was the Kior, what was the Chanoi, Shmuel? So there was not the faucet necessarily. in a way. Not really, it wasn't like a faucet and then you had a sink. That's not what it was. You had the kiyar, which is the sink, the chanoi, and that which came underneath that. But in a way, the kiyar was a faucet, because what would happen is that the water would overflow from the kiyar, and they would do kiddush yadayim viraglayim at one time. So when they put this sink over here for the kohanim to wash their hands, I thought it was like a big chumrah because it's such a small sink. You could do kiddush yadayim viraglayim all at one time. But that's the way it was. You had the kiyar and the kanoi, which was really, or certainly kabbalistically and even halachically, those were two kelim. Those were two kelim. It wasn't one kelim. So you really had two shnayim shem shalosh in the outside over here. When you went inside more into the oil moyed or into the kodesh, not everybody went in here. People couldn't go in here. So the kodesh, you had clearly three things. You had the shulchan, which had on it the lechem hapanim. You had the menorah, and you had the mizbeach hazav. So that's where what did you bring on the mizbeach hazav?
Incense.
Ketaros. So here you were shechting animals, and here you were burning ketaros. And then if you go inside more, you have the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Kodesh HaKadoshim, you had basically one thing, which is really three. You had the Aron. That's it. The Aron had on it Shnei Kruvim. So you had the Aron and the Shnei Kruvim, and that's all there was.
The Kapora is not a separate thing. That's
What?
the Kapora. The lid is not. That's
No.
the same
It
as
says
the
it's called one thing. It says in the Chumash it's called.
And
It's
the
called
lotus inside is also not a separate.
all one thing. It's all one thing. So it's all called one keli, if it's a keli. That in itself is a shaila, is the Aron a keli, is a kruvim a keli. It's hard to call it a keli. A keli means that you're using it to do something else. You're not doing this. This is it. So it's hard to call it a keli. So the machlokes, I think, the Rambam and the Ravid, whether it's one of the kli habishkan or not. It's yotze from our discussion over here. But what's important for us to understand, just balabatish about this, is the way the action happened in the Mishkan. Over here in the Chatzar Mishkan, so this was like a very noisy place. Chatzar Mishkan was very noisy because here you had animals, moo, animals coming, animals being shefted, blood flying all over the place. And while that was happening, the Levium were singing over here, and people were there. They're bringing karbanos, and there was fire, and it was like a barbecue. Like it was ala eish. It was like this was serious, like Lag Bomer over here going on in the Azar. And when you went inside more, which we didn't, when you went inside more, it was a much quieter place. No animals came in here. No Levium came in here. According to one sheet in the Gemara, they couldn't even hear the Shiras HaLevim in here. It was like a nest, just like it says Vayikra Avosha, that you couldn't hear. The kol was nifsak. So according to, I think it's machlokes in the Gemara. But the over here you had, like, what do you think about it, like the shulchan. So what was the avodah of the shulchan? That once a week they came and they put new lechem, showbread, lechem haponim on the shulchan, and it sat there. It just sat there. It wasn't. This was not. I always say, like, men like to do barbecues, like a lot of action. If they're not doing barbecues, you want to fry in a frying pan. like action, like noise, action. It's time you put something in the oven. That's for women. The oven. That's not a male thing.
Like to see the fire.
See the fire, action, sizzling, going all over the place. That's geschmack, right? That's the way I'll do that. So it's always a pell. They always talk about the fact that it's just okay. But how like let's say the women are in the kitchen preparing the schnitzels for the barbecue, and they're working on it for an hour and a half, and sautéing it exactly, and marinating it exactly, and putting it exactly in a row, and then the husband comes, throws on the barbecue. My husband made a barbecue. If we were just making a barbecue, we'd throw it. Maybe you throw some junk at it, but there's no no cookie. That's already. So the action, all that action stuff is all in the Azara out here. Chatzer HaMishkan. When you go inside here, still everything is quiet. Shulchan, the menorah. The menorah was, again, you lit the menorah, and it gave out light. Menorahs don't make noise. There's no action there. It just went, and there was a nest going on in that menorah also. That the Ner Maravi was always going. Or maybe another nest on the Mizbeach also. Mizbeach Haktar was always going. Fire was going, and even on the Mizbeach, it was vegetarian. There was no animals here. There was one step removed from what we are, which are basar v'dam, and to get to the world of someach, and it was burning and it was smell. It had to do with smell, not to do with the kind of action that we're talking about. So in a sense, I think it's correct to say it was a much more spiritual place. Smelling and seeing the fire, or seeing the lechem apanim, like mare and reach, those are the two most spiritual things that we have. It's very spiritual, as opposed to shechting a cow and throwing blood. It's physical, very spiritual. Like you're smelling something. It's metaphysical almost. Maybe not almost. Maybe it is metaphysical. Kol neshama ta'alo kol, that we make a bracha. I'll call neshima on smell. Smell is very special because vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. That when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man, so he did it through his nose. He breathed into our, he didn't give us like artificial resuscitation, which would be through the mouth. That's why that's artificial. But did it through the nose. The nose is neshama. And ad kadei kach, that the Gemara says in brachos, that you make a bracha on reach. How do you know? You make a bracha on reach. How do you even know? It's not really, it's metaphysical. So the answer is kol haneshama tahaloka. That's the ezu hanosha haneshama tluya b'hamiyayim zu areach. That's what the Gemara says in Brachos Lamvav. So that's what's going on. So you're talking about outside was kol mara reach. This is what was going on. So it was a much more spiritual place. In the Kodesh HaKadoshim, if you go inward more, so nothing was going on. All right? Once a year, the Kohen HaGadol Me'echad, the Kohen Gadol, would walk in there and daven. He didn't talk. We don't, it was there, it was just there. There wasn't an avodah per se of the Kohen Gadol. It was a problem. I imagine the deepest possible experience that a Jew could have was being in the Kodesh Kodashim. What's interesting about it is, like, you didn't do anything.
You say the Shem Hashem.
Said the Shem Hashem. Zrikas. Of what was going on here, right? The Zrikas. But it was the most. But I'm saying what I mean to say, he did Zrikas, but the Aron itself, like it served no function per se. It was just there. Not like the menorah was giving off light. The shulchan was showing bread. It was you did something that it was just there. So you have here, very clearly three madregas.
The outer one, it's interesting. It seems very similar to this mode that the Olav Yisrael spoke about on Pesach. That the whole thing with matzah is very related to the Korban Pesach.
I wasn't there. Where? What did you?
Olav Yisrael in the sefer of Pesach. So he's a reminder in Pesach that the whole zrizes of matzah, hipazon of matzah, it's the same thing in the tzli'esh of the Korban Pesach, which is it's the interface between, it's moving out of the confines of this worldliness through time, through the dimension of time. So hipazon is moving out. So it's interesting, in that outer zone, you have a similar thing going on there, because it's also the karbanos, it's also happening in a mode of zrizis. There's no chametz there also. It's also, those same chumras of time, which are also applying in that outer mode where there's an interface, and the outer world is most present in that outer chatzir.
Good Torah. Good. So, if I'm not mistaken, the lashon of Rabbi Akiva is "V'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol me'adecha." Three bechinos. Levavcha is the most pnimi. V'chol nafshecha, lashon of Rabbi Akiva, and the oisius of Rabbi Akiva. V'chol me'adecha is more most gashmi. Big tumult going on in the Chutzner HaMishkan. It was big, noisy. It was noisy. This was quiet, and this was no.
And with reasons.
Rizos, yeah, tumult. Levium said it was tumult, like tumult, you know. Okay, so I just want to understand the anatomy of the Mishkan until we understand the anatomy of the Nefesh Hachaim. Because what we're learning, don't forget, let me just refocus you, is that the person himself is Doma L'Mizbeach, and what's mind-boggling is that this is actually what's going on in the Shemayim, the Olam HaSolyonim. This layout here is a great layout.
You would have thought that Levavacha would be in the middle, not at the top now,
Geographically.
geographically.
Okay. But it's not. I mean, in other words, Lev is, okay, let's see where you see, I'm not sure that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai agrees with Rabbi Akiva.
Okay.
Because I think that if you had to, so let's just do this exercise for a second and then we'll see inside. If you had to, let's just point here for a second. If you had to point on yourself to the Zara, the Chutzner HaMishkan, where the animals are and the zrizas are, so what would you be talking about?
Stomach.
Right. And if you'd have to be talking about the Kodesh, so where would you point to? The Kodesh.
Your head, I guess. Your head.
Huh?
The head.
What do you mean, yes? It's a question. The head or the heart?
I would say the head.
Okay. And if you had to point to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Neshama. Can't point to it, really.
Right.
It's hard to point to. So let's talk about something like the maisim of the person, the lave and the rosh of the person. Let's just put it all in one thing, and then the neshama, kodesh hakadoshim, the cheluk elikai mimal mamish, cheluk elikai mimal mamish in the person. So this is the Sefer Yetzirah. If you ever want to read the Sefer Yetzirah, which is the primary Kabbalah book, so it's translated by Rabbi Kaplan. Explained by the Gra. I said this last week that there are monumental svarim that the Gra wrote that nobody even heard of. Like monumental, like it just who could write a pirush like this on the Sefer HaYetzirah? Who could even read the Sefer HaYetzirah? You're about writing a pirush like he wrote. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I have no concept. Like we said, not dumb enough. No concept of what this man had going on in his mind. Just no. I don't think anybody. I think the Chavetz Chaim said that he thinks the Gra was Ke'achadat Hanoim. So you can't even imagine what was going on in Hillel's mind or Yochanan ben Zakkai or something like that. If the Gra was Ulai, Ulai Kechem and Tanoim, who could even understand what was going on in these minds? It's like a different kind of covet, but with Hillel, you have to imagine. Here, just read this. But let's just do a little bit. And I'm not. I just want to say this one sentence. I don't pretend to understand this. It's beyond me. But I think just a little bit we can all understand. So I understood. Underlines here represent the parts that I understood. And he says here that there is, let me just mention one more thing here, a pargoid or a pareiches, that the Urias Mishkan or the pareiches, there's a pareiches over here, right, separating the Kodesh HaKadoshim to the Kodesh, and there's a pareiches over here separating the Kodesh to the Azara. Shtei Pargudim. Right? These are two You know, like they say it as a joke, but it's not so funny. You know, it's not really so funny. But they say a joke that the Hasidim, so they wear a gartel, separating the core from the bottom of the bottom. That's the pshat in a gartel. It's separating, and in the Litvaks they wear a tie, so separating the head. In other words, so just as I'm just putting a picture in your mind, that the Hasidic gartel is over here. They always say like the Arabs, they were like up here, separating like 1 inch of their head from the rest of their body, which is maybe kulai tameh, I don't know. But all right, that's a joke. But I'm just creating a seer for you, like the paroiches was separating. So you had a clear separation between here and here. You had 2 paroiches. It's very interesting. The Gemara says that by the Shalosh Regalim, so they opened up. This was a very rare, beautiful thing. That a lot of the Klal Yisrael was here, or maybe even here, depending on their status, and they opened up this paroches. That was like only on the Shalosh Regalim they opened up this paroches so that people could see the menorah. And why did they want everyone to see the menorah? It was a chizuk for everybody that the Shechina Shruya be Yisrael. That's what the Gemara says. It's after the kach that the Gemara asks the question that there's a mizbeach here. So when they opened the parochas, how did they get to see the menorah? The menorah was over to the side. So that's like a kasha on the positioning and the mikum of the menorah. Like there was the Gemara points out, but that's how serious it was. There was a question on the design that if the whole idea is you open this up at the Shalosh Regalim so we could see. But the idea was that what's the chizuk seeing the menorah? Because there was a fire there that was always burning. And the fire that was always burning, that was like a nest that nobody ever got to see. We heard about it, we didn't see. So the Shalosh Regalim, they opened up the parochas, and somehow or another everybody saw that. And that was like, how does that teach you, Shechina Shruya b'Yisrael? Not just because there was a nest. That was like the burning bush, like the sneh. That there was a fire that never went out. Just like the sneh nenu ukal. It was the same nest. Malamed, and this teaches you Shechina Shruya b'Yisrael. When this menorah became tameh and it was taken away by eventually by the Greeks, so the menorah was taken away. Then by the Romans, completely taken out. But by the Greeks, they extinguished the menorah, and then we brought in shemen, and a miracle happened that it went for 8 days. So that wasn't like. The nest there was that there was again a ner tamid. That was the nest. The nest was that again we had the Shechina Shruya b'Yisrael. All kinds of kashas like Tumahutra B'Tzibur, all kinds of kashas. But the point is that the chizuk of the thing was that it kept on burning, even though it should have actually gone out. It kept on burning. So it was like the sneh. That was always the sign of ruchnius of Shechina. See, because I explained this before that fire consumes things, but that's only in this world that fire consumes things, because you can't have your cake and eat it in this world. If you're going to have a fire, so the fire is burning something. It's burning oil, or it's burning wood, or it's burning something. It's not just there as a fire. But that's this world. You can't have anything good unless it's at the expense of something else. That's the way it goes. That's the way the world was created. Whereas in Shemayim, you could have good just as which is just good. And it doesn't have to be burning anything. So the pshat in the ner tamid, or the pshat in the nes of Chanukah, or the pshat in the sneh nenu ukal, is that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to look at the sneh and say, "That's interesting. What's fueling this fire?" So the answer is it must be min hashamayim, because in Shemayim you don't need any fuel. Because fuel means something is going away. Something is going away so that something else can come. That's not true in Shemayim. You can just have good tov. Okay, so.
The Rav said yesterday with Avram Avinu when he went into the kitchen was that was the.
Very good, yeah. Right. In other words, he was hooking into a higher fire. Yeah.
Maybe the 7, because you counting 7 kelim. That's how it's counted in the Chumash.
So let's see what he says here. So Heim Beis Pargudim I'm sorry, let's just a little bit earlier than I'm mixing myself up with my underline. I didn't want to get into the partsufim. Bein kol echad pargud v'hem beis pargudim, two curtains. Pargud echad husoid paroiches hamavdelos bein kodesh hakadashim. Upargud sheni ubein hakodesh. One paroches. A pargud means a separation. Even the separation between us and the Shemayim is called a pargud. Me'achoyrei ha'shamati me'achoyrei ha'pargud. So the pargud is the separation. So there was one pargud which was mavdelos ben kodesh hakadashim ubein hakodesh, upargud sheni ben kodesh l'chatzer oil moed. Those are the two pargudim. The kodesh kadashim, in the kodesh kadashim was arayin kaparis kruvim. I told you that, but he's telling us shehem keser chachma bina. Okay, let's understand now on a deeper level. Keser, Chachma, Bina. These are the three spheros that are me'achoyrei hapargud. These are the three spheros which we don't have access to. We don't understand. We talk about seven spheros all the time. Spheros Omer, seven spheros: Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. We don't talk about the 10 spheros so much, unless you're a real makubal, because what is it? Keser, Chachma, Bina. That's lamala mehasogaseinu. It's not something that we've ever experienced. We don't understand what Chesed is. We can understand what Netzach is. We understand what Malchus is, but we really don't understand Keser, Chachma, and Bina. So those are the three higher spheros, and that is. There are. Where'd I go here? Kodesh Kadashim. You had the Arayin, the Kaparos, and the Kruvim. Now again, this is three. He's counting three like this. He's saying you had the Aron, you had the cover for the Aron, and then you have the Kruvim. In the Arizal, it says, I don't want to confuse things. The Arizal, it says that the three was the Aron, which turned out to be like Miksha Achas Basof, and then you had the two Kruvim. So that's how the Arizal learns. What? He didn't count the Kaparos. Okay. Probably an extremely significant machlokas, but
Why weren't the luchos considered part of it?
so that's the thing. Like what the Aron was all one thing, which needs to be. There's this idea of total integration. Echad. It's the idea of everything is one, but that everything being one, you still had. Let's go with the Gra here. Aron kaparis kruim shehem keser chachma bina. Let's cheat and where I didn't underline. Aron bina. The Aron was the bina. Mashakasav kaparis chachma and kruvim keser. Anybody wants to go there, you're welcome to. I'm just. Kapiris Chachma and Kruvim Keser. There's nothing. I mean, that I can think of which is sort of logical about this. It is what it is. Because I would say it the other way around.
Because Kaparis is a separation.
Right. So why is that Chachma?
Because that's the only way you can know anything.
Well, you're saying like Yemein L'cha Chachma, Yemein L'cha
you can
Havdalah.
just separate between one thing and another.
That's what Bina is.
That's what Das is. Yemein L'cha Das. Havdalah Minayin.
Yeah.
That's what Gemara says. It's Das. How does Das fit into this? So Das, I once explained, who's Das? Chachma Bina Das. That's the famous thing, right? So what you have is, I've explained this before, in the Keser Chachma, this is not a machlokas, by the way, it's just a different way of looking at it. In Keser, in the higher spheros, the Keser, and Keser, like a crown, and then Chachma and Bina going on underneath the crown. So, the Keser is so far removed from anything that we could possibly understand. But there's a you could turn the Arizal says you could also turn the triangle upside down where the bottom where instead of going Keser Chachma Bina you could have the understandable part of Keser is Das. So I've explained that. I don't want to go into that right now, but that's and the Chabad. Chachma Bina V'Das is not his Chiddush, Chachma Bina V'das, and it's not a machlokes with Keser, Chachma, Bina, but he said, well, so we don't understand the Keser, let's talk about Das. That's something that already, Das is already the switch, the interplay between the top three spheros and the rest of the spheros. So this is, by the way, Shaar loving. I just wanted to say the math right now.
Positionally speaking, that's how it is. Proving Kaparis and the Dara. That, is Kesef HaMakim.
Yeah. B'kodesh Kadashim, Arain, Kaparis Ukruvim. Ba'oil Moyed, Menorah, Shulchan, Mizbeach. Neged, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. Ki Yodua. Menorah B'darom. Now this is, by the way, let me just point out to you an oddity here, that whenever we talk about Chesed, we talk about the Tzad Yamin. And whenever we talk about Gevurah, we talk about the Tzad Small. But it just happens to be that the Shulchan is on the right, so that should be Chesed, right? And the Menorah is on the left, so that should be Gevurah, but it's not. It's the other way around. Because when you're in the, maybe it just depends how you're standing Mizrach, but it has more to do with right and left. It has more to do with Saflein and Darai. And the point is that Shulchan is B'Saflein, and Saflein is your din. And the Menorah is B'Darai, and that's Chesed. It's like if I'm facing against you. So, V'oil Moyed Menorah Shulchan Mizbeach Neged Chesed Gvura Tiferes Ki Yadua. Menorah B'Darai Shulchan B'Saflein and Mizbeach B'Emsa. Mikan ve'elach levar migufa. Now you're going out of the actual kodesh and kodesh hakadashim, and you're going into the rest of it. And there you have netzach hoid yisoid misham hanukva. Okay, I didn't underline it. B'chatzer oyel moyed. Now when you go into the chatzer, now what do you have here? And look the way he does it. You have the kiyar v'chanoi, two kalim, the kiyar and the kanoi. Umizbeach hachitzai. Kiyar v'kanoi, netzach and hoid, which represent base kloyos. So the base kloyos, two kidneys. Shisham mayim. You know what's the function of the kidneys? Filter the blood. It's handy. So, right. You need water to do that. You need hydration to do that. If a person wouldn't have water, you'd die because your kidneys can't function without water. Like you have to have water. You have to have also water. You have to flush the kidneys with water so that it can do its function of filtering the blood. So that's why I drink 8 cups of water a day. So. It's for the kidneys. You have to do that, but it's not really for the kidneys. I'm just saying this because it's important for what we're learning. It's not really for the kidneys. It's really for the dam. It's not about the kidneys. So my kidneys aren't healthy. The problem is if your kidneys aren't healthy, then your blood has got all kinds of garbage and it's not being filtered properly and it can't get through there properly. To put it in lay terms. So the kiyar and the kanoi. So interesting. The kiyar and the kanoi. So that's connected the two kloyos. Shesham mayim v'lochein kiyar al kanoi. And he understands it like a zachar and a keva. Like one is giving to the other. One's the ukidul kaman. Umizbeach yisoid. This mizbeach yisoid, which is out here, neged mizbeach hapnimi. Says the guy that. Take a look here in the. I want to get the whole geography correct, so then we can understand this in a very meaningful way, Derech Avoda. But just let's bear with me here. It's very important that this is keneged this, meaning this has got to be exactly mizbeach and choishes has to be exactly aligned with the mizbeach hazav. Now, if you look at the chart that we're all familiar with of the spheros, so you have Chesed, Gevura, and in the middle you have Tiferes. Then you have Netzach and Hod, and in the middle you have Yisoid. So Yisoid and and Tiferes are exactly lined up to what?
Kesser.
Kesser.
And Malchus.
And Das. And Malchus. So you really have Kesser. Let's look at our Kav HaYasher here. You have Kesser, you have Das, the underside of the Kesser, you have Tiferes, and you have Yesai. Let's focus on Tiferes and Yesai. So the Goyen tells us here, it's just so important, that like when you talk about the Avos, so you have Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And let's understand what happened over here. Avraham is Midas HaChesed, and Yitzchak is Midas HaDin. Pachad Yitzchak. Chesed, Din. And Yaakov is called Tiferes Yaakov. Pasuk. Tiferes Yaakov. So what happens is that is he Chesed of Avram Avinu and Gevurah. These are two, right and left. They're extremities. So I'll tell you something, a little secret here, that extremities are makabel tumah. Ve'ein hamizbeach makabel tumah. The halachically, the extremities, you see, because chesed is great, but it has a downside. Chesed lu'umim chatos. Chesed, I mean, we all understand this, that going too much, giving too much, no boundaries, just no boundaries, that's like a bad thing. And that's not it's a good thing, but it's mekabel tumah. It can become tameh. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. You don't want to get rid of your chesed, but it can be mekabel tumah. Whereas gevurah, that's also a good thing. Like I have my boundaries. I'm a very Masudar person, this and that. But if I can't crawl out of those boundaries, it also can be makabel tumah. And that's, but whereas, so that the extremes, or in the case of the body, the extremities, they could be makabel tumah. That's why when you wake up in the morning, you have to wash negovasa. You don't have to wash your heart or your head. I mean, you can do that too. But the makabel tumah is in the, you don't have to wash your feet, because that's already a different thing. But chesed and gevurah, so that's where your extremities are, and you wash negovasser because that's where tumah can hang into. I could do some chesed here and get a little tumah into the system over here, so you wash that off right away. Yaakov was tiferes, so that when you have this perfect mizug of chesed and gevurah, it's not makabel tumah. So if you take the picture of the kodesh, you have the shulchan and the menorah, and the shulchan was din keneged Yitzchak, and the menorah was chesed keneged Avraham. But the mizbeach hazav, that can't be makabel tumah. So let me just explain something here. That Avram Avinu was all kulei chesed, but he had a son Yishmael. And Yitzchak was kulei gevurah, but he had a son Esav. So that means that in the chitzonim of the thing, in these extremities, when you're kulei chesed, you could end up with Yishmael. I'm not judging the Avos, I'm just saying what I learned. That in the case of Avram Avinu, you could end up with Yishmael, which is para adam, no boundaries. Yishmael is no boundaries. Para adam, like a tree. So it's like a wild bush, you know. Avram Avinu liked Yishmael very much. He loved Yishmael, and he loved Hagar. Hagar, remember, just told us file this for 2 minutes. Well, file this till Thursday. Hagar was called Keturah. Shenoi Maaseh Kektoiris. But Avram Avinu liked Yishmael because he represented Chesed, and to him that was a good thing, because this is what we need to do. We got to get God out there in this world. You know, we just get him out there. Like we need somebody who's a paradum, who's going to run through all the barriers and just jump through everything, and you know, like Islam. You know, we're taking over here. Caliph, you know, like caliphate. Like, let's just do it. Like, run everybody over. If they're getting our way, chop their heads off, and just let's just take over and do everything. And there's complete hispashtus here. There's complete. Now it's hard to attribute that to Avram Avinu, but the teretz is that Chesed, even with the purity of Avram Avinu, is makabel tum in the Chitzayim. Yitzchak had Esav, and Esav was also on the other side. Yitzchak was Midas Hadin, and on the other side there was also a kabbal's tum of Esav. Avram had to do an akedah of Yitzchak, because that's akedah means when you're buying two things together. So there had to be a together coming of Chesed and Gevura, akedah. So Avram Avinu said, "Look, I'm really about Chesed. It's not for me to shecht you." and Yitzchak had to say, you know, when he sees that knife, you know, I have boundaries, you know. Like, this is a little bit, you know. So what happens is with the fact that they're both maskim to do the akedah is that Chesed and Din came together. Hamtakas Hadinim. And because of that, not biologically, because of that came out Yaakov, which is now Makabel Tumah. Because there's a perfect mizug of Tiferes. I just want to say this before we close, because this is obviously, not only you can write books on it, but books are written about it, but Keneged exactly the Mizbeach Hazav was the Mizbeach HaChitzah, the Mizbeach HaNachoshes. And this, the Gaon says, this is one line I'll explain, that's Yosef. Yosef is Midas HaYesod. And Yosef Haya b'Mitzrayim. So Yosef was again, you see, the Shvatim. Yaakov was Tiferes, so Mitasai Shlema. He didn't have a Yishmael, he didn't have a, all good guys. But he had a whole, but they were some Chesed and some Gevura. Yosef brought it together in Yesod, and Yesod is where heaven touches earth. That's where it all, in the spheres, that's where it's all happening. And Yosef Haya b'Mitzrayim, which is why Yaakov understood that Yosef is the man. Brothers didn't like it. Why? The same thing, because let's be anointed a little bit towards Chesed. And if you read the story, just read the story of the Chumash, you see, let's kill him, let's not kill him. You know, like it was a Chesed and Din. It was like a whole Akedah going on there at the same time. Chesed, Gevura. But Yosef was the one in the middle. He was getting beat up by everybody because he was right there in the middle, and he's mamish keneged Yaakov, but outside. Yosef Haya b'Mitzrayim. He was outside. It was out of the box, but he was there. And then under that is Malchus, which is the Geulah when Mashiach comes. But what for our purposes today, what we need to understand is how Keser, Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, K'faydoy V'atzmai, and Das, and Yaakov Avinu, which is Yisrael, Tiferes Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, and Yosef, which is Midas HaYesod, they're completely aligned. And we're going to get, by the way, back to the structure of the back and the alignment of the back of the foliage, which are connected to an. But here's the line that it just is important for you to visualize in your head from the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where everything is completely quiet there. Let's just to review this point. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, like Keser, everything's quiet, right? There's no noise in Shemayim, like there's no noise. But then it comes to where there's a little more action, where there's smell, where there's seeing, where there's going on over here to the real action place, which is Yosef. That's where the Mizbeach HaNachoshes, like Yosef Haya Mitzrayim. It's real action over here, animals and things and gashmias and bread, and famine. Like it's a real life over here where Yosef was. But this is where Yaakov saw it had to go. So everything that Yaakov learned, he taught to Yosef. That's what it goes, and so from there we'll get through the graph.